Hi guys, welcome to my channel. This is episode 19 of my pregnancy series. It doesn't seem to end because there's so much to talk about when it comes to pregnancy and childbirth, and so I'm just going to be continuing from where I left off. And I would like to say a very big thank you to all of you for continuously watching my videos and supporting my work to keep me going. And a very big welcome to you if you are new to this channel. Please don't forget to subscribe. Anytime you watch my videos, remember to click on the thumbs up to like them, leave a comment and share with your friends. I'm going to be talking about postpartum, and that is everything to do with the first 3 months after delivery. I'm going to start off from breastfeeding. Breastfeeding is something that if you are single or you've never been around somebody who has had a baby before, you may never know the challenges involved when it comes to breastfeeding. I thought if the child is hungry or they are crying and they need to eat, all I needed to do is to open the child's mouth, bring out my breast, put the nipple in their mouth and let them suck. Is that not what we thought breastfeeding is all about? Yes, so that was my mindset, and unfortunately for me, I got pregnant with my first child during the COVID. The antenatal classes were online and we only had about 2, and there was not really a lot about breastfeeding. I did a few background reading here and there, YouTube videos, and I knew that some people complain about the challenges of breastfeeding, but it still didn't click. It still didn't click until when I delivered my first child. It was an emergency cesarean section. After I delivered, I was in the hospital for 3 days because my pulse was very high and they needed everything to settle before I come back home. Whilst we were in the hospital, the first day, I heard, in the ward, I will hear this mother here crying, the other person over there crying, and they are all crying about breastfeeding, because we are so close together. So I could hear the conversations that are going on between the midwives or the nurses and, the mothers. And sometimes you will hear them crying and saying, my child cannot feed, he cannot feed, I've done everything, and I found it so shocking. I was thinking, why are they crying? Why are they crying? What's the big deal? So even when my husband came to visit, I told my husband, I was gossiping about the women. I said, can you imagine, there was a lot of crying here. All the mothers are crying, blah, 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 about breastfeeding. I don't even understand what's going on. I didn't know that very soon it was going to be my turn. Because, when you deliver, for the first few hours, especially when you've had cesarean section, the numbness has kicked in. From this part downwards, I couldn't feel anything. So for some hours, you don't really have to feed a child. Okay, so I didn't really understand the whole thing. I was just thinking when it's time for me to feed a child, it was going to be very easy. When it was now time for me to breastfeed JL, they showed me what to do. I did it, but she couldn't latch. I think the first few minutes she was able to latch, so I could feel that she's sucking the breast. And then after some time she stopped, which apparently they said she was full, because obviously at this stage their stomach is very small, so they don't need to eat too much. So I was okay, looking forward to the next feed. When it was time for the next feeding session, she could not latch at all. The breast is in the mouth, but I could feel like she's not holding the nipple very well. So obviously, because she was not able to latch, it means that she couldn't eat. And she was hungry, so she started crying. And when you're in the hospital, a lot of midwives come in, different midwives come in to check on you. So anyone that comes they will ask me, have you fed her? And I'll say, I've tried, but she's not holding my breast very well. So I didn't even know that the correct word was latch. Okay, so they were the one who said, oh, you mean she couldn't latch? I said, yes, she couldn't latch. So they tried, they said, show me how you do it. I did it. They said, oh, you are doing it okay. So they tried to show me different positions, how to hold her in different positions so that she can, you know, latch. And trust me, it was just not working. Throughout the rest of the day, she couldn't latch. Day 2 came, still she was not latching. Different people come, they teach, they show me different things. I tried, they said, okay, you are doing it okay, but it's just the baby. And I was getting frustrated. So one midwife now came, and you know, my baby was crying, and she was like, you need to feed your baby, you need to feed her, she's hungry, blah blah blah. And I said, you've just showed me how to do it, I've tried it, and it's not working. It's not working, it's not my fault, you know. And then I started crying. And then I think she started feeling bad, obviously. In the UK, you don't want a situation whereby somebody reports you, okay, whereby your patient will report you. So I think she started feeling bad. And then, anyway, I started crying. I didn't know what to do. The baby was crying. I was crying. I was like, oh my God, this crying thing has finally caught up with me. You know, and it was seriously, you know, this breastfeeding thing, it sounds simple, but it's very complicated. So day 1, day 2, day 3, 3 days, she's not had any proper food. And you know, the unfortunate thing is that none of these midwives was able to tell me that, oh, Peace, you know, you wanted to do breastfeeding, it's not working, so do you want to switch to formula? No. And me, to being a first-time mother, it didn't even click that actually you can switch to formula. It didn't click at all. And none of them said it. So I was getting frustrated. Baby was hungry. Midwives were tired because they didn't know what to do. And then eventually, and this is something that actually I wanted to complain about. I had an opportunity to fill in some questionnaires, and it was one of the things that I said, but I could have done an official complaint about this because somebody should have told me that, let's switch. Okay, you've tried, it's not working. The baby needs to eat something. So can we do formula for some time? And then maybe we'll keep trying until we get her to be able to latch. Nothing like that happened anyway. We were discharged on day 3. I came back home, and then throughout that night, baby cried and cried and cried. And at this time, she had lost so much weight. It was during the night when she was crying, then something just came to my mind that, oh, we have to start giving her formula. So I told my husband, please, right, first thing in the morning, we're going to get formula for her. Luckily for us, my midwife also came. There were 2. They came to the house on the 4th day. They came to the house to find out if I'm okay, if we are okay, if the child is okay, and they did all the weigh-in and everything that they have to do to check to make sure that the child is okay. Obviously, she's not eating for almost 4 days, and when they weighed her, she had lost 12% of her birth weight, which is more than what is expected, because apparently they do expect that when children are born, within the first few days, the first 1 week, they would lose some weight, but it shouldn't go beyond 10%. Because once it goes beyond 10%, other things can kick in. This is when some children will have jaundice and other kind of other forms of health complications. So you have to take them back into the hospital. But what helped us was that my daughter had a very rich skin. I don't know how to explain it. She had this very firm, rich and very nice skin. And also her eyes, the white part was white, the black, everything was perfect. So the midwife said, when I look at her skin and her eyes, I know she doesn't have jaundice, but she's lost too much weight. And according to the recommendations, she has to go back to the hospital. And I said to the midwife, there is no way I can sit in the car and drive for another 20 minutes to the hospital, because when you come off the motorway, there are a lot of bumps on the road, and because I've got a cesarean section wounds, anytime we go on a ramp, I feel the pain, and I really struggled getting from the hospital to the house. So I said to the lady, there is no way I can do this journey. Can I speak to the doctor? Can they give us 1 day to put her on formula to see if there will be any improvement? She said, okay, we can try formula for that evening to the end of the day. She's going to book for the health visitor to come in the next day to weigh her and then check if she's okay. So we went and bought our formula and everything. Started feeding her, baby started eating, and obviously she started calming down, not crying as much as she should. Pretty girl. Which was good. And then the next day, health visitor came, weighed her. There was a little improvement, but she said she would need to call the hospital, call the pediatrics, and then we may have to take her to the hospital because her weight was still a little above the recommended percentage that she should lose. She was speaking to the pediatrics and then explaining what was happening. And then I said, can I speak to the doctor? So I spoke to the pediatrics and I said to her, my daughter has not been eating for the past 4 days. We've literally just put her back on formula and there's been a little improvement. Can they give us more days to monitor her, to feed her and monitor her? Because obviously I don't feel good. I don't feel strong enough to do that journey back to the hospital. And then she said, okay, no worries. She's been told that the child has a nice skin, clear eyes. So obviously they've ruled out any jaundice, because if there's jaundice, her eyes would have become yellowish or something like that. So they gave us extra day, another day, and that meant that the health visitor had to come again the next day to come and weigh her. So that whole week, you can imagine, there were midwives coming in, going out, health visitor coming in, going out. I think it's one of the things that was very good about, the hospital that I delivered in. And I believe probably it might be the practice in many hospitals in the UK. Okay, so the next day when she came, JL had gained a lot of weight. She was now back to the normal that they expected. So they just said, okay, just continue doing what you can do. But then the question is, do we really want her to be on formula? I never wanted my child to be on formula. I never wanted her. I always wanted to breastfeed, because that's what I knew. Because I knew everything that is natural is the best option. So breastfeeding was something that I really wanted to do. So when we got her back to the correct size, we now thought, okay, we have to try and get this breastfeeding thing going on. So anytime the midwives came, they will try and help me to breastfeed her, and still she was not latching. So they said, do you have a breast pump? I said yes, because I had bought one. So I started expressing the breast milk into a bottle and then I give to her. But this time around, because she had started off with the formula, and the formula is sweeter than the breast milk, when I give her the breast milk, she was not keen on eating it. She was not keen on taking the breast milk. And I was also not producing enough breast milk. So they were advising me that I have to express it. I have to pump the breast every 30 minutes, every 20 to 30 minutes, I have to be pumping the breast. And trust me, I was judicious about this because I wanted to get it done. So almost every 30 minutes, I'm removing my top and I'm pumping breast. So literally, I'm spending the whole day taking off my top, putting it back, taking off my top, wearing it back. And it was not becoming stressful. I was like, am I going to be spending the whole day pumping, and even this child is not taking the breast milk? So I was getting tired. I even forgot to mention that whilst I was in the hospital, because I had a lot of midwives trying to help me to get a baby to latch, my nipple became sore. And so by the time I got home and I started now expressing the breast milk with the pump, my nipple started bleeding. Okay, so it was becoming very uncomfortable. So that is also one of the reasons why I got to the point I'm like, I'm so tired now. So yeah, the challenges of breastfeeding are real. And definitely, if you're watching this video and you're going through such a thing, make sure that you buy nipple cream. You will find them in most of the chemists. Or if you are pregnant now, as part of the things that you need to get ready, make sure that nipple cream is one of them. Health visitor also referred us to a lactation consultant to check JL's tongue to see if she's not tongue tie. Apparently, there's something called tongue tie, which sometimes is under their tongue, which restrict them or makes it very difficult for them to latch on the breast. And normally, if that's the case, then they will do a minor procedure to cut that thing off so that it can loosen the tongue for her to be able to latch. So guys, we had to wait for almost a month for that appointment. And whilst we're waiting, I was pumping the breast and still supplementing it with the formula, but I was not producing enough breast milk. When the time came, we went there, they checked under her tongue, they did all the assessment, and they said she's not tongue tie. She doesn't have tongue tie. The lactation consultant said, try and breastfeed her. Let me see if you're doing it right. I did it. I did all the positions, the different positions they taught me. She was not latching. The lady said, oh, you are doing the right thing, but I think it's just her. So they just said to me, just continue supplementing the breast milk with formula. You have to now because you are not producing enough breast milk, you have to pump the breast frequently. The more frequent you do it, then the breast milk will start flowing better. So the lady now said I should be expressing my breast every 15 minutes to 20 minutes. I'm like, what? Okay, so I came home. I tried a bit. One day I just said to my husband, Ken, I'm so sorry. I don't think I'm ready to go through this. Let's just go full on with this formula and forget about anything. So that was why I did not breastfeed JL. And then when we had El Nathan, after the cesarean session, when I recovered, they brought him. We did the first few minutes, about 30 minutes again, feeding him, and he was latching very well. So I was happy. I was like, oh yeah, this baby is latching very well. And then we were wheeled to the ward, and Nathan also was struggling to latch. And to be honest with you, this time around, I didn't even try anymore. I just said to my husband, you know what, I'm not ready to go through that cycle again. So we didn't even give him the chance, to see whether he would really latch or not. I just said to my husband, let's go straight on formula. And that's what we did. And I know sometimes people think that breastfeeding is the best. Yes, there's a truth to that, okay? Anything natural or close to natural is the best. However, the quality of your breast milk is based on what you eat. So if you are not eating quality food and you are feeding on junk, you are feeding on sweets, you are feeding on all these pastries and sugary stuff, that is what the child is going to be feeding on. So breastfeeding is good, but it is as good as what you eat. So it is not entirely true that it is the best. It will be the best for your child if you are eating the right things. Okay, so that's one of the things that I discovered as well about breastfeeding. And the other positive side with the formula is that the formula is fortified with all the vitamins, all the right things that a child will need. And they've made the formula as close to breast milk as possible. Okay, so really, if your child is on formula, they are not going to be lacking nutrients. whether you are eating the right things or you are not eating the right thing, because you are not breastfeeding the child is getting all the right things from the formula. I've seen mothers, okay, thank God, because of the work I do, I work with a lot of singles who have been married, young mothers, okay, so there are some of them who are breastfeeding and they later find out that their child is more nourished because they, as a mother, are not eating the right things to give them the right nutrients for the child.
One other thing that the mothers I know who have breastfed their children complain about is the fact that they normally have back pain because they have to sit for about 45 minutes to feed a child. So you can imagine if the child is eating every 30 minutes to 1 hour or 1 hour to 2 hours, especially in the first few weeks of their birth. And you have to spend 45 minutes at each feeding session to feed the child, then obviously you know that it's going to be that's going to be tiring. Again, every woman is different, every child is different. If you are not producing a lot of milk, then it means that the child has to suck for longer. If your flow is heavy, then you probably will spend about 20 minutes to feed a child. So everybody's case is different. My experience is more with the formula, and the formula is really, really quick. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, the child is done. Okay, so it saves you time as well. You're not going to experience the back pain that those who breastfeed normally experience. And also, when the child starts developing teeth, you are rest assured that they are going to be biting your nipple at some point. Okay, so there's a lot. If we have to talk about breastfeeding, it's a lot that goes on. And this is why I think for every woman, we appreciate our parents or our mothers more when we start having our own children. And so, grace to you if you are watching this video and currently breastfeeding, or for those of you who are keen on breastfeeding when you start having your children. May God give you all the grace and the wisdom to be able to navigate that stage.
Breastfeeding has a lot of benefits. It can even help you to lose weight quickly as a mother. It helps you to bond with your child. It helps your womb to go back to position quickly. So there are a lot of benefit with breastfeeding, which I will highly recommend to anyone who is 100% sure they are having the right amount of nutrients, they are taking in the right amount of nutrients. If you are on formula, I've already explained to you, everything the child needs is in that formula. So don't feel guilty for not being able to breastfeed your child, especially if you've got good reasons. And even if you've just decided that breastfeeding is not for you, you want your child to go on formula, you will not be the first to do it, and you will not be the last. Yeah, the only thing you have to do is when you wean the child, when they come off the formula and they start eating normal food, again, the normal food has to have enough nutrients to help their growth. So to be 100% sure, because now they are off formula, and so all the nutrients has to come from their food. So if your everyday food that you are eating or you are giving to them doesn't have enough nutrients, it's also going to affect them. So for instance, my daughter started losing hair. She had a lot of hair, but she started losing her hair because she was not eating properly, and so she was not getting enough nutrients. And because of that, we had to start supplementing with multivitamins. So we took her to the GP, which is the doctors, and they prescribed multivitamins for her. Some of them you can find over the counter. One of the multivitamins we use is this one. It's called Halib Orange Baby and Toddler Multivitamins. Yeah, this one was recommended to me by my hairdresser. She's had 4 kids, and she was somebody also told her about it, and she said this is the best so far for her. So she uses it for her children. And if you're in the UK, if you go to Superdrug, Boots, you'll find it there. Halib Orange. It's a multivitamins, and it really helps you. Okay, so my children are still on it. We've just reduced the amount of milk that El Nathan takes, but we still give him the multivitamins.
One most important thing I almost forgot to talk about is the fact that the breast milk doesn't start flowing immediately you deliver. So sometimes it might come after 24 hours or even after 3 days. But there is this yellowish substance that comes out of the milk. It's called colostrum, and that is what the baby needs in the first few hours or first few days. Apparently, it has a very good impact or benefit for the child. So your midwife probably might even encourage you to start collecting them. I was given some syringe to start collecting them when it was getting close to my delivery date, because when you squeeze your breast, you realize that those yellowish substance will start coming out. So the syringe was to help me draw them and keep them in the fridge, so that when the baby is born, the first few hours you are waiting for the breast milk to start producing, to start flowing, you can feed a child with it. You also need to understand, again, your breast will be leaking when it starts flowing. So whether you are home, whether you are breastfeeding or not, your breast will be producing the milk and it will be leaking. This is where it becomes very tricky, especially if you're going out or you go into a function where you're going to be staying for longer. You have to really plan very well so that you don't embarrass yourself, because the milk can flow to the extent that your clothing can be soiled. Yeah, and you may not be able to find a comfortable place, even if you've got a breast pump to keep expressing the milk. So it fills up and your clothing can get soiled. I will recommend that you get a breast pad that you can use whether at home or even when you are outside.
Okay, so I've got a breast pad here. I still have a lot of them actually. Maybe I'll dash them out to somebody when they give birth, because I don't think I'm gonna have another baby. Okay, yeah, they have different types. This is the type I use. I don't even remember the brand name because I don't have the box anymore. Yeah, so this is how it is. And then they've got this bit which has sticky. This is the inside. Actually, you can put it on your nipples like this, and then you put on your bra, and you wear whatever dress you want to wear, whatever top or dress you want to wear. Yeah, it just, the sticky bit will stick, will keep it in place so that it doesn't come off. Yeah, you need a breast pad, and they also get filled up very quickly, so you need to keep changing. If not, you will start smelling of breast milk. And I think that's one of the things that happens a lot with new mothers. They can smell of either wee wee or breast milk, or even if you're using formula, you can smell of the formula. And because you have been around the wee wee and all this stuff so long, so much, you can easily smell of these things. So make sure you've got a perfume as well. Get a nice perfume, where especially when you are going out, yeah, just be mindful. You probably would think that you are smelling okay, but you are used to your own aura. So other people coming around you might be the ones noticing that you have some weird smell. So make sure that you use perfume or body mist when you are going out, so that people will not be looking at you very strangely.
The final thing is that when you want to stop breastfeeding, your breasts will become very hard because it gets filled up so much that it will now start feeling painful. So if you're experiencing that, just know it's normal. Eventually, it's going to subside, and it will take some weeks for the breast milk to completely dry up, for your breast to come back to normal.
Remember, everybody's case is different. These are some of the things that can be general to everybody, but there might be specific things that will happen to specific people, and God will give you the wisdom to know how to handle it. If you're not sure of anything, the internet might be helpful, but it might not be the best place to get the right information. So always go back to your midwife. They don't leave you immediately. Okay, take some time, about 6 weeks before they sign you off. But the hospital is always there, the GP or whichever clinic you had your baby, they are always there to provide assistance. And in the UK, especially the hospital that I gave birth, they've got their helpline. You can always call at any time to seek advice. So make use of those resources so that you are sure that you are getting the right information. This is my breastfeeding story, and I hope you've learned something from it. If you are a first-time mother, to know how to handle the issues that might come up with breastfeeding. I'm going to record episode 20, still wearing the same thing because I'm not getting up from here. I want to make sure that I finish this video. Okay, so remember to click on the like button, leave a comment. What have you learned so far about breastfeeding and its challenges? After that, share the video. I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.